What's up, Generosity Forum? My name is Andrew Donovan. This is episode 32, and I want to talk to you about sampling because there's a little bit of controversy going on around doTERRA right now. Sampling, of course, has been the traditional way to expose people to essential oils, and now there are different trainings and different opinions coming out about whether or not you even need to give out samples. So let's have a little chat about that. To get us off to the right start, I'm featuring a little bit of balance that I'm going to sample myself, so I can be nice and grounded for our Facebook Live. By the way, thank you for your patience as it took me a minute to get started. So still getting settled in the new house and had to set up the film studio and all of that. So anyway, we're good to go. And I couldn't find the cord for the lights, so I had to borrow a cord from my Apple TV to make my lights turn on. So now we're good to go. Hey, good to see you hopping on live. Would you guys hopping on live just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down? Can you hear me? Can you see me okay? We good to go. Does the light look pretty? So I'm really excited about this topic about sampling because I've been in doTERRA for just over 5 years now, and I grew up with sampling. From the get-go, we learned to take our bottles of oil and we would fill the little 5 ml drams. In fact, I wonder if I have some, or the quarter drams actually. And oh, thumbs up, thanks guys. We learned to fill those little quarter drams of samples and hand them out. So right from the beginning, thank you Timber, right from the beginning, I learned to go to Oil Life or Aroma Tools, and I would buy those little cases of mini sample bottles. Then fast forward down the road, doTERRA eventually got to the point where they started making their own samples. So we had the deep blue little mini packets. Then we got the On Guard toothpaste samples and the shampoo and conditioner samples. And then do you remember they started making those trios? There were the little trios that were the blends and the single oils, which I highly recommend not using. Sorry, doTERRA, because they're those little perfume bottles and you can't get a dropout. You literally have to dump out the entire thing. So they were the worst samples. And we bought a whole bunch and we still have them because I don't like giving them to people, because everyone that I gave them to would say, oh yeah, the oil was so good, but the whole thing dumped out all at once. And I'm like, sorry that you're gonna smell like lavender forever. At least that's a good smell. So Matthew says, sounds good, lighting's good. All right, sweet. So just tell me in the comments as you guys are getting started, do you give out samples? Yes or no? Because people have come to me and they've said, so what do you think about samples? This is actually something that we as doTERRA leaders talk a lot about amongst ourselves, because newbies come in and first of all, think about why you may or may not want to give a sample. Let's talk about that first, and then let's talk about why you may or may not want the prospect to have a sample, okay? Just so you know, the question, are samples effective or a waste of time? The answer is yes. And it depends on how you're doing it. So I'm actually going to advocate for sampling, just a heads up. And there are a number of reasons why, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. And I'm also going to direct you to some resources that I've created to help you learn how to make your sampling kick-ass, because I don't want you to waste your time or your money on samples. And if you don't do it right, you're totally going to waste your time and your money. And you know, you'll just have little samples floating around the world that don't actually produce anything for you or help other people if you don't do it right. But if you do sampling correctly, it is totally a shot of adrenaline into your business. And there are ways that you can do sampling just like a little stream of samples going out consistently, and there are ways that you can blast samples going out to just have a supercharge to your business. So we'll talk about that. First, let's talk about why sampling may or may not be in your favor. So sometimes a new person starts doTERRA and they just don't have a lot of money. And it's totally understandable. And so when you say go to Aroma Tools or Oil Life and buy a box of sample bottles, well, that's what, $50 if they buy the box, or whatever it is, $40, I'm not sure. And then you say, and then you've got to take all your oils that you just bought and fill those little sample bottles and put stickers on them. And they're like, wait, but I just got my oils and I wanted them for me, or I don't have a whole bunch of product. And anyway, it can be a little intimidating. Especially if people are filling the sample bottles all the way. And I've had new builders come to me and say they got the 5/8 dram bottle. So there's like the quarter dram and then the 5/8 dram ones. Quarter, 5/8. And they'll fill those 5/8 suckers all the way up. And that's an expensive sample. And then they'll sample out like 5 different health ailments. And they'll say, oh yeah, people just think that I'm the free oil lady now. That's why sampling isn't a good idea sometimes, because that's not what the purpose of a sample is. The purpose of a good sample, and you should write this down, The purpose of a good sample is to give somebody an oil experience that makes them want more. Does that make sense to you? So it's not so that you can solve their health issue with the sample. That's not the point of it. You want them to have a, wow, oils are awesome experience. So that they come to you and say, how can I get more of this? How can I learn more? Or so that when you say, how was your experience? They say, it was awesome. And you say, well, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm having a class where you're going to learn more and more awesome. That's what you want your samples to do. So let me catch up on your comments here, you guys. Okay, Matthew says, yes, breathe drops are a good sample. Oh yeah, totally. And the Ongar drops too. Everyone likes those. Timber says, I'm so much more mindful about sampling. I gave away way too much at the beginning. As did I, Timber. I used to give people sometimes like 5 samples at a time. And granted, I did the little quarter-dram bottles, and I only put 15 drops in a bottle. And but so it wasn't that expensive. But I would give away 5 samples, and basically, what I found I was doing is I was diluting their experience. Because someone can only metabolize so much energy, right? So if I give somebody 5 different samples, even if it's for one health ailment, well, I've now distributed their attention across 5 different doTERRA products. So they don't know what's working, they don't know what to look for, and to know how to use 5 different oils, that's kind of overwhelming for most people, unless they already have experience with using oils, and even then, it's just you're diluting the experience. Kristen says, what are your thoughts on spoil events? Oh, that's a great question, Kristen. So let's talk about that too. So when you concentrate the experience with a sample, they're more likely to use it, and it's easier for them to understand how to use the sample. When they know exactly how to use it, and you make it simple for them to have a little bit of structure. Like, I'm going to give you 1 sample of peppermint, or peppermint and 1 other oil max, okay? And you let them know exactly how to use it, and then they use it, well, they're more likely to have a positive experience, right? If they're overwhelmed with too many products or too much information, they're less likely to use the products, ergo less likely to have an experience, and way less likely to be ready to learn more early on. And that's what most people do, you guys. I see people all the time, they're like, oh yeah, I gave her a helichrysum sample, and I gave her a balance sample, and I gave her something for her sleep, and something for her knees, and and I'm like, they're never gonna have the experience, because they're trying to do too much too soon. So, Kristen, let's talk about this. I told you guys that there are ways that you can use samples to have a nice steady stream of product experiences going out into the world that will come back to you in abundance and people wanting to come to your education events. And I told you there are ways to do like a shot of adrenaline, injecting just adrenaline into your business. So sampling challenges and spoil yourself events are examples of the adrenaline injection. And then just giving yourself a consistent goal of a certain number of samples to give out every week, that's the steady stream. Hey, Kathy, good to see you. And I think both are a wonderful idea, just so you guys know. Before I get into those, I want to address why some people are saying don't give out samples. And I actually would like to challenge this, okay? So the reason why some people, I believe, are saying don't give out samples is because they've seen builders doing the unhealthy sampling practices that we just talked about. Giving out too many samples, not educating people on how to use the samples, not following up after the samples, not having a structure, treating it like a business practice. You're just like, oh, take oils because you're coming from a place of scarcity, worried that no one's going to want your oil, so you're trying to give them away for free so that people want to come back to you, and then it's just, you don't have a healthy value exchange cycle there. That's why I think some leaders are saying don't give out samples. I've seen some sales training programs, and I'm not going to point out which ones, but they say don't bother with samples. And to that, I would say doTERRA got to its billion-dollar status in 7 years by giving out samples. Okay, so let's not nix what's been working in terms of billions of dollars of revenue, okay? That's stupid. We're not stupid, okay? All we want to do is fine-tune our sampling practices so that if I spend, a couple bucks giving out a sample, I want it to come back to me tenfold in revenue and in value that I've given to that prospect. Does that sound better to you guys? So I've seen some of these sampling or these sales trainings, and they're saying don't bother with samples, just give a good invitation, get them to your class. Now, does that work? Totally. But here's why I would challenge it. Besides the fact that sampling has worked to get doTERRA to its now multi-billion-dollar status, okay? The other big reason why I would challenge that is that we have something that sets us apart from every other network marketing company. There are companies that have phenomenal products, really good supplements, killer weight loss shakes, killer weight loss programs, financial services, things like that. And the difference, the big difference between doTERRA and these other companies is our product produces an instantaneous result. You could have a really stellar lineup of supplements or weight loss shakes or whatever, but it can take a few weeks to see a result with that product. With our product, you give them 1 drop of balance and say, rub it on your temples, take some deep breaths in, and tell me how you feel. And they say, whoa. You guys, we've all had the experiences. I remember early on in doTERRA, I was teaching a class, and I gave someone a drop of balance oil, and she rubbed it on her temples, and she started crying from a drop, 1 drop of balance oil. Now, nobody takes a little sample of a weight loss shake and pours it and shakes it up and drinks it and starts crying and they're like, oh my gosh, this is the answer to my weight loss needs, right? Because they have to use it for a few weeks before they see results. So if we stop sampling, we are literally cutting out one of our biggest secret weapons in this industry, in the health and wellness space, a product that gives an instantaneous result. Now, Slim & Sassy does not give an instantaneous result because you have to do skinny wraps multiple times or drink it for weeks, to see a result. But peppermint for energy or for head tension or balance to calm your nerves and increase your focus, or citrus bliss to uplift your spirits, all of those oils, so many of our oils give an instant wow factor. So why would we cut that out of our business model? Does that make any sense to you guys? Say no, it makes no sense, and I promise to learn to be an effective sampler, Andrew. Just write that in the comments right now. Okay, thank you. Let me catch up on your comments here, you guys. Let's see. Matthew says, we have a sample night one night a month, but it's only for the people that are already using doTERRA. That way they can try some of the oils they haven't purchased yet. Ooh, Matthew, I love that. You guys should read Matthew's comments if you want to. That's great. Okay, Kathy says, Kathy's there. Hi. Don, the whole reason we are an MLM is for the experience of the oil. Carrie says, I need to catch up on this. I often feel it is. Okay. Timber says, so true. Hey, Tommy, good to see you. And Timber says, I promise. Thank you for promising. Okay. So we've covered what bad sampling looks like. It looks like giving out oils without educating the person. It looks like giving out too many oils at once. And it looks like giving too much oil at once. You guys, all you have to do, simple sampling is so simple. You give the little 1/4 gram bottles, the teeny ones, okay? And you put 15 drops in and you sample 1 health concern at a time, okay? 2 oils max per health concern. That's it. You don't sample multiple health issues at once. Do you understand why? Because when you sample multiple health issues at once, you're diluting their attention. Okay, if they're trying to increase their focus and their headache, and you're like, here's 4 different products, it's too hard for them to focus and notice results on both things. So you want to give sample 1 health issue, okay, and you want to give the samples for the easiest health issue. That simple. Does that make sense? Because all you have to do is give them, if they have headaches, you guys, that's my favorite one, because I'm like, here's some peppermint or some past tense or some aroma touch or some deep blue or whatever you have handy. And you tell them how to use it, put it on, take some deep breaths, notice how the tension instantly lightens, okay? And your head instantly feels airier and freer, okay? And then that's it. And then you set a time and then you say, if I told you how to use this and gave you a sample, would you let me know your experience in 2 days? That's all. Does that make sense to you guys? So Kristen says, you are generous. I give 10 drops. Fine. That's great, you guys. They only need 10 drops to put it on their temples 1 or 2 times and have an experience, right? So that's what simple sample that's what simple sampling looks like. 1 health ailment, sample the easiest health ailment, and give them education and schedule the follow-up. Boom, you're done, okay? So now let's talk about some of these events that you can do. So Matthew just mentioned the sample night that they do once a month for existing oil users. We talked about the Spoil Yourself. Those of you that don't know what a Spoil Yourself event is, Spoil Yourself is where you take, you mail someone a little spoiled package, and it usually includes balance oil, wild orange oil, peppermint oil, a deep blue sample, an On Guard toothpaste sample, and then what's the other one? Is it On Guard drops or something like that? It's basically you give them samples for 5 days. Now, this is a little bit different because you're focusing their attention on 1 product per day. So the Spoil Yourself event goes like everybody on your team, everyone mails out spoiled packages to, a dozen prospects or so, and then all those prospects join a Facebook group or event, and every day for 5 days you give a little mini education. So it's kind of like spreading a class out over 5 days online. So I would say that's different than sampling multiple health issues all at once or giving too many products, because you've got a very specific structure. They get specific education about specific products and specific ways to use them on specific days. And then you do that for 5 days. So that's the adrenaline method of sampling, and it's proving to be wildly effective for many teams. So if you're not sure how that works, talk to your upline and say, can we do a spoiled event? And your diamond upline has access to oodles of education and resources and literature and graphics on how to do a spoiled event, spoil yourself event, because in the Diamond Facebook group, we've all been sharing our stuff, so for months now. So talk to your Diamond upline and say, can we do a spoiled event if you want to do that? The other thing that you can do is a sampling challenge, and these can be really fun too. Basically, you can just do it with yourself or with your team, and basically the way a sampling challenge works is you give yourself a challenge for how many samples you're going to give out in a 1 week period, or whatever time frame works for you. You might even do a month period if you want to, but usually a shorter time frame tends to be more effective, because if you spread it out over a whole month, then you're like, oh, I'll do it later, and then it's like the last day of the month and you have to give out 20 samples in one day, so it's less effective that way. So a really good sampling challenge looks like you and a few builders each make 20 samples, maybe it's 20 peppermint or 10 peppermint and 10 balance, something like that, and then you challenge yourselves and each other to give all those samples out in 1 week, with the objective of bringing a whole bunch of people to a set number of classes that you've predetermined before the challenge begins. Does that make sense to you? So let's see here. Robin, I love your advice, Sandra. It's always wise. It's always really opinionated, right? Let's see. Carrie says, so I have this girl who's doing having lots of digestive issues, and I was going to give her a week's worth of PB Assist Junior and Digestin, and also peppermint beadlets. Is that too much? Carrie, that's only 3, but I would only give 2 products, and here's why. You want to give her a result, and you don't have to give her all of those. I think that giving her a week's worth of PB Assist Junior and Digestin is phenomenal, because she's going to notice something really obviously, and it's easier for her to use those 2 products than it is to use 3 products. So plus, you giving her peppermint beadlets, I don't know how you do that because it's such a small, loose product. You guys, just remember this. The simpler you make the sampling process, the more they're going to use the samples, the more they're going to have experiences, and the more they're going to be ready to learn more later on. That's how it works. So what are your guys' thoughts? Tell me in the comments. Do you like sampling? Do you feel like it's a waste of time? Do you want to challenge what I'm sharing with you? Do you buy into some of these sales trainings that are saying don't sample? And you can, you're not going to get shamed, because you guys, I've invited people to an essential oil education opportunity, whether it's a class or one-on-one. I've done that without giving out samples many times, all right? And that's totally fine, and it's worked, you guys. I've actually gone through some of these sales trainings and tried what they teach, and it's effective. Just so you guys know, in 7 Steps to Residual Income, I teach how to invite someone without a sample and how to invite someone with a sample. And I'm really clear that there's not a right or wrong way to do it. It's just, if you understand the power of giving someone an instantaneous experience with the essential oil, they're very likely to want to learn more because they're cool. So, okay, Don says, Bradley's in a 5/8 dram. Samples always. Don, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Bradley's in a 5/8 dram. Stacia says, I always like to sample products before I make. You guys, for some reason, sometimes when I do these Facebook Lives, it doesn't let me see the whole comment. So, Stacia, I just see you always like to sample products. And I like that too. I think it's wonderful. So, and there's so many creative ways to do it, you guys. I mean, some of you guys like to make bath salts and soaps and different things like that, and you like to give those as gifts, and that's a sample. You just want to make sure that your sample has an objective. And that's one of the biggest pitfalls that I see people miss out because of. They don't have an objective with their sample. So Carrie says, okay, this really does make sense. I was going to give her the whole beadlet container. You guys, you know when you're coming from an attitude of generosity versus when you're coming from an attitude of scarcity. Can you ask yourself that question honestly? In fact, let's do a little exercise here. Just reflect on the last year of your doTERRA business. Has the energy of giving out samples been an energy of abundance? Because you say, I've got something precious, I just want to get it into as many hands as possible, and I know the abundance is going to come back to me because I know people are going to want to learn more about this? Or has it been an energy of scarcity? You feel in your chest, in your gut, wherever, that you're so worried that people aren't going to take you seriously, that you're not going to have a growing business, and so you're like, I've got to give out samples so that people will want to come to my business. You know the difference, don't you? In the last year of your business, what kind of energy has it been? You guys, I've sampled people whole family essentials kits. You know, when your doTERRA business gets bigger, you've got more money to work with and blah, blah, blah. But you don't have to do that. But I've done that from an energy of abundance because I thought this would be so fun to give this influential person a whole kit because I know they're going to love it. And I've also given people something as teeny as a wild orange sample from an energy of scarcity. And you can do it both ways, okay? A good sample has a clear, abundant objective. I'm giving her a sample for her digestive issues because I know that she's going to have a wildly positive experience and she's going to come back and want to know more. And you know that you've seen doTERRA leaders on stage at convention, at leadership, and they're the ones that talk about they love to give out samples everywhere, and you can feel from them that they genuinely believe that the abundance is going to come back to them. You can feel from the way they talk about it that they really believe in the abundance of our essential oils and that the oils will create this value exchange where the people want to come back and learn more, want to come back and get it from you. I have people message me all the time, you guys, and they say, I give out samples all the time and no one wants to come back to me. They all want to buy from someone else. Or they never want to buy, they just want me to keep giving them samples. And the reason why that is because you are starting with a scarcity mindset. And that sounds so heartless. And you guys, I'm sorry that that's where you're starting from, but that's where you're starting from. Because those people that you're seeing speak on stage at doTERRA events that have that abundant energy, that's what they're bringing to the table. That's why they give out the sample. Because they know that these oils are an abundant, beautiful thing to share. And when you share them, the abundance comes back. You're bringing abundance to the prospect, you're improving their lives, and your prospect is going to help improve your business because everybody wins when we do it this way. And when you're the kind of person who has that experience of, I give out samples over and over and over again, they never buy from me, they always buy from the other lady in the neighborhood or from someone else. It's always a sense of betrayal that I'm experiencing, and they always want more samples from me without buying. Sorry, I'm getting hyper here. That happens because you are starting with a fear that there's not enough. Okay? So what you get to do is you get to take your favorite oil, you get to go meditate and clear your mind, get your ego out of the way, and then you're going to get out your little journal, your gratitude journal, and you're going to journal about 50 different ways today, that 50 reasons why you know the abundance is coming. All right? 50 reasons why you know the abundance is coming and why you know these oils are blessing lots of lives. All right? So the question was, are oils a waste of time? Yes, if you don't do them effectively. But if you do them right with this abundance mentality, they are like fuel. They're like gasoline on a flame. All right? So I've actually got to run because an evaluator for the house is here, or whatever that word is, okay? So I love you lots, and I will see you soon. I'm going to hop in here and catch up on your comments. Much love, and let me know what you're going to do as far as samples go, okay? Happy sampling. See you next time. Bye, guys.